Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. Apologies for the slight delay. We had my colleague Daniel, who was going to do it. His laptop's playing up, so I've had to swap over to do it, and we're at different locations. the joys of technical issues, as I'm sure everyone's experienced with Facebook and WhatsApp lately. So I will get going because, by the look of it, a reasonable number of people have attended and connected into GoToWebinar. So the idea of this webinar is a brief review of a couple of things in Nebula, but really just to introduce what we term Phase 12. So that is updates to the Nebula platform that have been going through in the last few weeks. Introduction of support for additional access points, cost reduce or Nebula Flex switch, and some other features to do with Circle and so on and so forth. So I'll crack on. So my name is Nigel Canning. I'm one of the UK sales engineers. My colleague, as I said, Daniel, was normally going to do this particular webinar. So basically, what we're trying to do is to get across the message that Nebula is very simple to get things up and running. So most people are aware of how easy it is to get switches and Wi-Fi onto the Nebula platform. But one of the things you'll see today is that security devices, more and more security devices, are now supported by Nebula. In the previous release, we had connected the USG Flex family to Nebula, and now you'll be able to initiate the ATP, the Advanced Threat Protection security devices under Nebula as well. Just a quick review for those people that perhaps are new. It's a very simple platform to use. You've got a single pane of glass management of all devices. So as you can see this slide here, which is a nice example of the sort of overview. You've got access points, wireless clients that are connected to those access points, switch status, PoE status, so on and so forth, and obviously gateway status. If you've got the complete suite of components, so that's gateway all the way through to Wi-Fi and wired connectivity, you'll be able to see all the kind of traffic patterns, all the kind of client connections, SSIDs, top Wi-Fi clients, top wired connectivity clients, so on and so forth. So it is a full-featured platform nowadays. Each of the reviews, each of the revisions of the platform itself includes more incremental improvements, so on and so forth. And that is really what Phase 12 is about. It's an incremental improvement. One of the things you will be able to do on this particular release is you'll be able to keep security profiles up to date. So basically, if you've got multi-site deployments that share certain configurations and profiles, you'll be able to have just a single policy, which when you kick off the synchronization, rolls out to all of the clients and all of the connected security devices. So once again, one of the great merits of any kind of cloud platform is the sort of central configuration and management and hence synchronization to attached devices. Some of the other features that are now being emphasized a bit more on the Nebula Control Center. The Nebula Control Center is the web-based management platform. If people tend to use the app, then NCC, as we call it, is the web GUI. More remote tools and information is being put in to help you diagnose issues. We've always had the remote CLI, but we're just emphasizing that a bit more with the sort of reverse SSH connections into the devices. So within NCC, you can kick off a CLI connection to an access point or a switch and get some more detailed information. We also have cable diagnostics for fiber and copper. So if you do suspect a particular connection is an issue, you can kick off the cable diagnostics, start to work out what's going wrong. Obviously, you can do pings and speed tests. One of the things that I always find very useful, if you've got professional licensing applied, you can get an automatic topology view of the network. So if it's all Sizewell products, you'll get a complete topology. If you've got, say, a third-party switch, but everything else is Sizewell, if that third-party switch supports LLDP, the Logical Link Discovery Protocol, then you'll be able to work out what the topology is. So if you're perhaps a support person that's all of a sudden got to dive in and fix a network issue, automatic topology is really useful because basically you can see how everything is connected together. Also, there's more information available in the logs and from the user audit information, and the actual diagnostic event log screen. There's some additional filtering being put in to help you track down perhaps a particular client connection via a MAC address, so on and so forth. Obviously, the whole emphasis on Xysel, Nebula, and us with our resellers is obviously to work together. So as I mentioned earlier on in the year, we introduced the USG Flex to Nebula, and now of course we're introducing the ATP to Nebula, and also we are introducing our low-end sort of USG 20 VPN device to Nebula. So that's a very simple at home or a coffee shop type VPN device that will be, manageable via Nebula. So the whole platform sort of scales from a single individual, perhaps at home with a USG 20 VPN, all the way up to a high-end ATP 800 enterprise grade firewall. One of the things that obviously some people do ask about at certain times is what's the difference between the USG Flex and the ATP. So the ATP has additional sandboxing and reputation filtering security solutions. So now these features that are unique to the ATP will now be included and manageable from within the Nebula platform. These the sandboxing platform is very clever, so that if you receive an unknown contaminated file or whatever that isn't identifiable by signatures, basically, it gets sent up to the cloud-based security engine that Xysel maintains. That unknown attachment or file is then taken apart in a safe sandbox. If we don't like what it does, then we destroy that file, but we feed back to the security device and all of the other Xysel security devices that unknown file is in fact dangerous. So one of the things that's worth pointing out is that the whole ATP ecosystem is very positively not positively feedbackable, because there is no word backable, but you've got a closed loop basically. So once the sandbox system has detected an issue, it then feeds it back down into the signature database, which then gets propagated back down to all of the security devices. So it's a very efficient and perpetually learning platform. One of the things, obviously, that any kind of cloud security solution provides is a global view of everything that's going on. And obviously, all of the devices that are cloud connected can basically leverage all of the intelligence, the security intelligence that is growing all the time. So these databases and security information lives in our security cloud, and that is synchronized back down to all the firewalls, so that they're always continually learning, always trying to keep up with the latest security threats and so on and so forth. Now this applies to not just the ATP firewalls, but to the USG Flexes and to the original Nebula security gateways, the so-called NSG devices. But it's worth pointing out that those global views of internet security issues is a key to providing really good security detection rates and so on and so forth. The platform is always learning. One of the things that some people wonder about is, in a hybrid world, so working in the office, working at home, and sharing things, you need these kind of security solutions which are literally everywhere. So on the client device, on security devices, wherever they might be, in a data center, in an office, or whatever. If you don't have that spread of security detection and so forth, you can be particularly vulnerable to perhaps a virus coming in from a remote access connection, or a virus coming in from an office that doesn't have a security device. But with the Nebula solutions, you can have security devices everywhere. They can be managed centrally. You can have centralized policy management, and that way you're guaranteed to cover all of your risk areas. Obviously, one of the big things over the last 18 months has clearly been remote working. Excuse me. With the USG Flex and the ATP, this is specifically under Nebula. You can manage all of your employees and security devices via Nebula. So obviously the USG Flex or the ATP on Nebula acts as your VPN security gateway. Then you can install the secure extender software on traveling laptop, or even for an employee's laptop that is essentially static at home, or a desktop that's sent to home basically. So if you're managing all of those individual users and all of those security devices, it becomes quite a headache. So obviously doing it under Nebula, it's all centralized, it's all obvious and logical. So you've got organization, you've got different sites, and you can track all the clients and so on and so forth. You can throttle the type of traffic, you can control the applications that people are using all easily via the Nebula platform. So you can maximize your bandwidth at the office, you can control how much remote access bandwidth people have, so on and so forth. And it's not particularly difficult to do. Another very interesting security solution that's come out recently is a thing called the remote workplace. Some people refer to it as the remote AP. If you think of the original Secure Extender remote access VPN, that is, so Secure Extender is like a laptop with Secure Extender software installed, and you bring up the VPN, put your username in, put your password in, go through a process to connect to the office network with two-factor authentication, so on and so forth. Excuse me, just going to drink. That's quite an involved process. So what we've introduced now is a thing called the remote access point, and it's a special secured, as it says here, drop-in access point. So you configure this remote access point and its SSID via Nebula. You send it to the employee's house. They plug it into their home broadband. The access point comes up, talks to Nebula, configures the access point, and configures the remote AP security functionality. All the employee has to do at home is connect to the SSID, the office SSID that is essentially broadcast from that remote AP. So only connectivity to the remote AP goes up the secure tunnel. So if you've got obviously children with PlayStations and gaming consoles and so on and so forth at home, quite a dodgy environment, the remote AP is just for the employee, and the traffic is sent over an encrypted tunnel to the office. So all of the viruses and so on and so forth that may be on the home environment isn't seen by the works laptop or the works desktop. But it's a really nice, simple solution. You have to choose the access point that supports this service. There's a list of access points which you can see under Nebula. As I said, you ship the access point to the employee at home. They connect to the Office SSID, and that's it. They're up and running, all nice and secured. And you don't need the Secure Extender software if you wish to use the remote access point solution. The other thing that we're extending a lot more of is a feature called Collaborative Network Defense, CDR. And the idea of this is that it automatically responds to cyber threats, and it constrains those devices really at the edge of the network. So basically, you've got the Zyxel Security Cloud, you've got the Zyxel security devices. They identify malicious content, and it instructs the access point to block that particular compromised client at the network edge. Now, this is all controlled by rules and policy that is maintained by the Nebula Cloud. But as you can see, if you look at that kind of that diagram, by having collaborative defense, as it says there, devices that are well away from the office network can still block content. So it's not a matter of, if you're in the office network, it can be blocked by the firewall, but those security policy restraints are pushed out to the access points, and that way you can keep dodgy files from coming up into the office network. Another feature that's been increased substantially is more monitoring, basically, and a bit more integration between the Nebula Control Center logging and Secure Reporter. If people aren't aware of Secure Reporter, I'll just quickly review what that is. Secure Reporter is our centralized security cloud reporting platform. You enable Secure Reporter on a device, you register the device on Secure Reporter, and all of the security logging type information is sent up to Secure Reporter. And that gives you a centralized visibility of the network activities and what viruses are being picked up, throughputs, how the policy is doing, so on and so forth. But what we're doing now is we're integrating some of those Secure Reporter features via Nebula Control Center. So you can be within Nebula Control Center, but you can immediately be linked out via the web interface to Secure Reporter to gain extended insights into your network security, because Secure Reporter is designed for that centralized security reporting environment, and that is something that Nebula, as it stands at the moment, isn't designed for. But by being able to reach out to Secure Reporter from within the Nebula Control Center, you glean all of that centralized secure reporting information. So there's more integration within Nebula. That's why they deemed it 360-degree cybersecurity monitoring. Another platform that we've introduced recently, I think probably some people have heard of it already, it's called Zyxel Circle. And this is basically, if you're aware of the MyZyxel platform, which is the platform that you register all of your devices in terms of their serial numbers, their MAC addresses, and their licensing. The MyZyxel platform doesn't have a hierarchy for resellers to easily identify their customers. The idea of Circle is to help the resellers basically to simplify the licensing and subscription services. So it allows you to basically synchronize with your MyZyxel platform, but actually put the names of your customers in there, work on licensing, particularly if you're a managed service provider, and it basically allows you to to build what your recurring revenue is going to be via this centralized licensing platform. So it's far better, and it is specifically designed for our partners and resellers. It's not an end user platform. The idea is just to help you get your heads around your customers, what their licensing requirements are, so on and so forth, so that you can, in a timely fashion, go back to your customers and say, in 3 months' time, these security licenses or these Nebula licenses need to be renewed, so you can then send them a quote in a timely fashion, get the licenses ordered, get the purchase order in, and then apply the licenses via the MyZyxel platform to automatically renew your customers' licensing. So it is actually, Zyxel Cycle is quite an important platform for resellers, but it is specifically for resellers, not end users. The other thing, of course, what Zyxel Circle does, it brings all the assets together in one platform. So it will sync devices, organizational structures, and sites, and so on and so forth from Nebula as well. You can do it in a number of ways. You can import things. You can keep things synced. You can have a one-way sync, so on and so forth. It's probably worth reaching out. The Circle website is online. You can apply. You do need to apply, and we will authorize the application to make sure you are a reseller. And then you'll be able to see there's user guides in there and so on and so forth. Or if you're interested in Circle, perhaps it's best to get in touch with us directly, and we can discuss it with you. But it is very useful for resellers, as I said, licensing and so on and so forth, bringing everything in together into the one platform. What it does do, it tries to make the licensing process that a little bit easier, basically, because obviously before you had to go and look up all the licensing, purchase the licenses, and activate the licenses. You still purchase the licensing in the UK via distribution and apply the licenses as you would normally. But ultimately, there'll be some flexibility. You could ultimately one day purchase via it, but I think that's a long way off. We still want people to purchase the licensing via distribution. What you can do here, these are some examples of basically you can have licensing automatically applied via the synchronization mechanisms, so that basically you can connect a particular Nebula account to a particular Circle instance, so that all the licenses can be pulled down and you can work out what you need to do. So any Nebula licensing expiration would then be aligned within Zyxel Circle. So it just makes life a bit easier for you. You've got various buttons that you can press to get a subscription alignment as well. So if you want perhaps a particular site or particular organization that's not currently bound to a particular month or a particular year of renewal, you can go in there and you can ask to align that and work out what the licensing requirements would be, and the platform will tell you. And as it says here, basically it is to help you have a simplified view of it all. Sometimes licensing can be quite complex, whereas having a calculator within the platform basically helps you to work out what that alignment should be, what the ordering requirement is, and then you can order the licenses via distribution and then apply them within the platform. So as you can say here, this is just a simple example. It's not perhaps that easy within a small number of slides, but basically you select the license types you want, you select the alignment date, it goes off and calculates how many years, how many months, and so on and so forth. And then you can check that the license extension is as expected, and then you can go ahead and apply it once you purchase the licenses. So the next few slides are basically just giving a summary of what the products that are now supported under Nebula. As I said right at the beginning, it now encompasses the entire fleet of security devices, wired network switch connectivity, wireless access points, and also the overarching cloud-based platform that manages it all. So all of these devices here for the next few slides are now supported under Nebula. So you've got a broad range of security devices. So here, obviously, it's giving you details of the ATP. You've got the USG Flex that's on there as well. The Nebula Flex Pro range of switches includes the GS1350, the GS2220s, and the XS3800s. So the Nebula Flex Pro switches come with Nebula Professional licensing. Got a broad range of access points. You've got the WAX 600 series and the WAX 500 series, or the new AX access points. You've got the AC Wave 2, WAC 6000 and 5000 series access points. You've got a range of internal and external access points. The one with the green line going to it is an example of the smart antenna outdoor IP rated access point. The access point to the 4 is a hospitality specific access point. So that's, as I said, for hospitality and hotels, individual access point per room. Then you've got a summary of what we deem sort of our flexibility products. So by that we mean they don't necessarily come with Nebula Professional licenses at the beginning. This is the USG Flex family. You can obviously now support them under Nebula, which I said earlier on. You've got the complete range of Nebula Flex switches. So that's probably our most popular switch, which is the GS1920 and the XGS1930 series. The XS1930 multi-gigabit series switches with and without increased PoE is available under Nebula. And you've got the performance range access points, which is basically what we deem to be our NWA 1000 and NWA 100 and 200 series access points. And these are all devices that don't come with a Nebula Professional license as standard. If you want the Nebula Professional features, then you buy the license as and when. Then we move on to what we deem our simplicity range. And excuse me, there's a couple of new devices on here which hasn't actually been mentioned yet. So in terms of simplicity from the security device point of view, that is the USG20 device. So that's a very lower end, more individual home or individual business person type of device, or for a cafe or something like that. All cloud managed, wireless capable if required. That's the W option. And we're also just about to bring out in the beginning of 2022 a small business switch range called the GS1950. It will be Nebula Flex, have a slightly reduced set of features, but obviously it's cost effective, so it's very useful for an at-home coffee shop type solution. So you have the security device, small business switch, and we're also bringing out a range of small business access points. That is the left-hand side access point. There is what's called the NWA 50 series. The right-hand side access point will be called the NWA 55AX. Now that is a very interesting device. It's an outdoor rated device, the one with the 2 aerials. Very useful for simple point-to-point circuits, but absolutely ideal for the small business market. Then we move on to a simple view of the licensing. So the platform, the Nebula platform itself, has been free now since day one and will continue to be free. And what we've termed now the base pack is another name, if you like, for the free platform. So that's the base pack. It's still feature rich. That's not going to change. The original Nebula Professional licensing is the Pro pack. That's the full feature set functionality. Obviously, some people asked for, they didn't need all the features of the professional pack, so they asked for a sort of cost-reduced middle ground license, and that basically is the Plus pack. We've got some PDFs which detail the different features and so on. So if anybody is interested in that, there's some PDFs that I can send to people which show you all the different features and what the licensing costs are, so on and so forth. The licensing now is also available in longer term periods, so 4 years and I believe 7 years. These have been requested by educational partners. So now essentially with a 7-year license, you can effectively give an educational establishment a total cost, if you like, over 7 years using the 7-year license pack. Also, the other license that's on there is what's called the MSP pack. So if you are a service provider and you create networking services for your customers and you sell that service, the MSP pack has various features in there beyond the Plus pack and the Pro pack to allow you to efficiently manage cross-organization type features. But it is very specific to the MSP pack, and it has to be applied to essentially the root account that owns all the organizations. Some other features, obviously, that people are aware about is that you can have real-time alerts specifically configured with customizations, basically, if you're in MSP mode. The alerts come through to a sort of centralized organization, but the alerts are actually they come with your company's look and feel, email address, and so on and so forth. It's part of the feature to create a service which is actually described in your company's terms rather than looking as though it's come from Xyzal. The next slide is basically just a summary of the licensing types that you need in relation to security. The bundled licenses that come with the USG Flex allows the USG Flex device to be used in standalone mode or on the Nebula platform. The same applies to the ATP Series Gold security pack. So the same license applies. You either use that license for standalone mode, or when you register the device onto Nebula, that security pack license transfers appropriately into Nebula. If you are interested in the remote access solution, that's what's called secure Wi-Fi, you need a secure Wi-Fi license applied to enable that feature, to enable that service on a security device to be supported. On the lower end simple solution, the USG20, there is a fairly simple content filter pack. That's more to do with just basic internet security and controlling access to restricted sites. Mainly, the better security devices really are the USG Flex and the ATP. The USG20 is there really for simple individual type security at home, not really for businesses as such. It's more individual users. Oops, I think that's just shot forward. Sorry about that. My keyboard's just bear with. Sorry about that. This is just a simple view of what features are supported under which security pack. As you can see, with the Gold security pack on ATP, everything is enabled by default, including, I might point out, the Nebula Professional pack. With the USG Flex bundled license, you get all of obviously the black circle features applied from a security point of view, but it's important to point out, obviously, sandboxing and reputation filter is specific to ATP, and the USG Flex doesn't come with a Nebula Professional pack license built in. So if you like, you can think of obviously, because USG Flex has got Flex in the name, all of our Flex products do not come with a Nebula Professional license. The idea is that they are flexible, and then you choose the professional license if you need it. As I said earlier on, the content filter pack for the USG20 is more of a lower end secure solution. It just provides web filtering and content filtering, basically. All of the licenses include a license for Secure Reporter and security policy sync via the profile sync mechanism. So it is important to note there that, as I said, Secure Reporter is included in all licensing, and Secure Reporter is an extremely attractive platform to be able to see what is going on in a central way in terms of all of your security reporting. So we are including it with all licenses. So these are our company slides that basically just try to bring the view that we're all connected together nowadays. Just about getting to the end now. Sorry, it's been slightly different. Hopefully I haven't overrun. If you've got any questions, we have the Sizewell community available for Nebula switches and so on and so forth. Within Europe, we have the support campus, which has a lot of information on all the different networking areas. So there's a whole section on Nebula, there's a whole section on security devices, there's a whole section on switching, a whole section on Wi-Fi, so on and so forth. You can search for Sizewell Security Campus. That's very useful. So if you're interested, I'm not quite sure. Oh, this is another slide. Sorry, this is another invite to one of the other webinars coming up, which is on the ZLD 5.1. The security devices need to be at what's called ZLD is our firm release for security. They need to be at ZLD 5.1. When that's released, then all of the ATPs and the VPN 20 devices will be manageable under Nebula. It's just an onboarding pass that Danny's created to indicate that's what that's for. So I wasn't quite sure about that. Here are some contacts for particular countries if you want to reach out to anybody about certain features for Nebula. We've got some tables which just try to simplify, because you're going to get sent these slides after the webinar. It tries to point out what the type of licensing is. Does it function on standalone mode? Does it support Nebula, i.e. NCC? What NCC licensing pack does it come with? And obviously what's called the NSS pack is the Nebula security signatures. Well, the Nebula security signature pack is essentially the underlying security devices security pack. So the ATPs, you need the gold license. The USG Flex, you need the bundled license, so on and so forth. So the table just tries to make life a little bit easier, to make licensing choices easier. Then we've got all of the different access points, what their Wi-Fi standard is, what their mode of operation. So are they Nebula Flex or are they Nebula Flex Professional? So where it's got Flex Pro, it's clearly a professional licensing feature, and that means that the device comes with a bundled 1-year ProPack license, which is basically, if you look at the NCC pack included column, that's basically what that means. And then you can see all the other features, whether they support bridge mode. Obviously, all devices support Smart Mesh. Wi-Fi Health is supported when you've got a Nebula Professional Pack license applied. The other features, the collaborative response. You need a certain type of access point, a slightly higher end access point that can basically run the particular software agents that support CDR. So you can see when you've got security Wi-Fi supported, which is the remote access point, and you've got collaborative response, which is the CDR column. So it's quite a nice slide that just basically details it all, makes it easy to choose. Some of the older access points, the NAP series, they included a 3-year ProPack license, but those devices are going end of life slowly but surely. But we've included them in this table just so if you do happen to have them, you'll know basically what your licensing period is. Then you've got a list of all the switches. Once again, the type of switch, where its features are, does it come with licensing, so on and so forth. And then there's a comment about the licensing packs and what you can do within Circle and what you can do within Marketplace. And Marketplace is the ability to purchase licenses online. So all these tables will get sent out to you as PDF slides after the webinar. So there we are. So I'm back at the beginning. So I'm not Daniel Moss, I'm Nigel Canning. Apologies for the slight delay. Slight technical problems with the GoToWebinar platform, but I will go back to the question and answer. If anybody has got any questions, I'll have a look at them now. Thank you very much for attending. Hope everyone's well, and no doubt see you again in the future. Thank you very much indeed. Right, so as I said, thank you very much, everyone, and all the questions have been answered, and no doubt we'll meet again. Thank you very much indeed. Cheers. Bye-bye.